I wanted to tell everybody that the boomers, they are friends now. I want to sort of clearly, get that message across, because there has been a little bit of there was a little bit of boomer bashing,
not unwarranted in some places.
Yeah, over the Zero Seats campaign, but I wanted to make that point via a bit of a weird swerve. Rod Liddell does this a lot in his articles. He start off talking about one thing, and then he sort of swerve into the thing that he actually wants to talk about, and it's a bit irritating, but I've always wanted to do it. So I'm going to do it in this one. And I'm going to start off by pointing out the unpopular opinions. Hopefully most of you know what it is, but lots of you won't. But that was sort of the premiere Tuesday night sort of pub hangout for people in our sort of sphere.
You say premiere because you were on it?
Yes, a fair bit. I was on the last one as well, and then that's the thing. It's the last one. So it stopped, and Dr. Parveen. I mean, he's not a professor like you, but he's a proper academic. A proper academic. He was a Shakespearean scholar, a highly regarded one. Quite clever, and he turned his mind to sort of doing political theory type stuff, and it ended up as a sort of chat amongst friends on the right. I think it was Carl who sort of first gave it a bit of a big boost, and it's sort of been a sort of incubator for right-wing personalities who have emerged, and it set the tone on quite a number of things. So I just think it's worth noting that it's end of an era, very sad, but it was the essential sort of Tuesday night viewing. There have been rumours that Academic Agent is going to join the Tony Blair Institute. I don't know.
I think they might just be rumours.
Yes.
Well, given Tony Blair's recent interview where he said he doesn't want to bring over any more families from Asia and Africa, I think the good Dr. Parvini might be excluded from Tony Blair's favour at this point.
Well, they have got a job posting up for, what is it, head of emergent phenomena and populist support and something like that. So that could be him. Also, the other reason it's notable, and this hasn't been officially confirmed, but he's got this very sort of erudite, witty sort of co-host who joins him on this, and a lot of people have been saying that it's Douglas Murray, his anon account.
What, John D?
Yes. I don't know if that is true, but I mean there are clues. Like several times an episode, he will just blurt out, "I love the nation of Israel." So I mean there are things that you can pick up on.
Didn't we meet John D?
No, we never met him.
No.
No.
Oh.
Who are you thinking of?
I'm sure I met somebody that, unless I've dreamt it.
He's never been seen.
It's like being in a nursing home, isn't it, people?
Well, look, you'll get there.
You're like Bigfoot.
I'm sure I met someone that said, "Oh, I'm John D. I'm him." Is it? No. Oh well. Oh no, Morgoth I met. That's it. Oh yeah. Sorry.
No, very different. Very different.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so, but the reason I mention this is because he's quite good at sort of coining phrases that have cut through on the right and then end up being sort of picked up. And he was the originator of many terms on the online right. So, for example, instead of before, we used to have to say things like post-war liberal consensus paradigm, which doesn't trip off the tongue. He sort of nailed that down to boomer truth. Which you can use that. You can sort of use it in a sentence. You know what sort of goes along with it, and it has influenced all sorts of writers, such as this on European Conservative, which they play boomer politics, get 0 seats, and I'll just read you a segment from it that cuts through this quite well. Let's appropriate the pejorative label for the paradigm. Boomer truth. Under boomer truth, a country, a culture, a people cannot act on their own particular interests, only on behalf of those not yet basking in the light of liberal imperialism. This mindset as a paralysing agent isn't confined to boomers alone, but it passes permeable barriers between generations of diminishing returns. The European Union has said as much in their attempt to establish a shared European history. They insisted on the importance of acknowledging crimes committed by Nazis, fascists, communists, totalitarian regimes, as well as under colonialism. So basically they're wrapping everything from the Third Reich to Britain into one sort of package under this. So, I mean, who wrote this? Let's have a look. That was you.
Yeah, in my defence, I didn't choose the title. But
right.
Yes.
Okay.
He also originated the term 0 seats, which set the tone for the last election and our very successful streak.
I'm coming to that.
Quite. But yeah, so you can easily...
But give us the reason why you've picked... Because you picked up on a whole bunch of his terms there, and you've...
Oh, because the Conservatives are going to lose their voting bloc from the boomers that they essentially bought off by saying we're going to quadruple lock your pension and send all those woke snowflakes off to die for Ukraine. But all the subsequent generations upon whose conscience the Second World War doesn't rest like a dead hand, they don't buy into the post-war narrative, which is that every single country has to act to prove their anti-racist bona fides to ensure they don't become Adolf Hitler. And so for them, they're like, no, I'd rather act in my own interest, actually, if I'm going to be right-wing. So if the Conservatives keep leaning on boomer truth, they're going to keep losing elections.
Exactly right. Do you want to come in on that, or? No, okay. He came up with other good terms such as the gay, global American empire, which is quite fun using because people will always assume that you're talking about something else and get upset, and then you can correct them and say, no, it's actually this very clever term.
Just like global homo.
Yes.
It means global homogeneity.
Yes. But perhaps his crowning achievement was... can we play this? This is the one that really had cut through and was being talked about by everyone. Mainstream media. 0 seats. All right, we can cut the sound on that, but you know that was sort of the big cut through for him. So the only other thing I'll say about this is he did have the occasional grumble about.
Well, that's I would think is his main achievement. Is the way that he combines this slightly lyrical Welsh accent. With an irredeemable level of Peter Hitchens-esque grumpiness. And he uses this Welsh grumpiness to present based ideas to people. And that's more of an achievement than 0 seats or whatever. It's that unique, grumpy Welsh half-Iranianness, which is only embodied.
But I mean, the 0 seats really did have cut through.
Well, I really like the fake commercial when he just the AI or something to do Rishi Sunak's voice. And
that was Toyin Fowl, but
and that was inspired by 0 seats.
Yes,
we do hate you. Yes. We do hate you, and that was it. Just perfectly encapsulated the.
And on his sort of general theme of grumpiness, he did have the occasional grumble about his takes being pinched and used in places like Lotus Eaters. So as the ultimate tribute to the man, now that it is all ended, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to steal one of his takes. So here we go. He's talking there about how, when it was 0 seats, the boomers were an enemy client group who could do no right. And now with 0 seats for Labour's, so they are a friend client group. And I just wanted to sort of, really reinforce that point. This is where we are. The boomers are now friends, and I want to try and get into this because it is an important distinction because we have bashed on them a bit over the last couple of years, but I mean, first of all, I mean, anyone want to have a go at defining a client group?
Well, it's a group that is used, extra parliamentary group that is used to reinforce the regime, to prop up the regime.
Yes.
So are boomers there to prop up the current regime? And if they are a client group, and they have special privileges.
Well, they were with the last one anyway, under the Tories. But yeah, you can think of a client group as any group where there's that sort of connection between the regime and the group. They kind of feed energy off each other. The regime gives them benefits, and the group kind of keeps the regime in place. So you can think of, for example, the orcs in Lord of the Rings. They are Sauron's client group. And under Rishi Sunak, under the Tories, it was boomers.
I think there's a reason for this, and the reason they've been lost by Labour is because they both buy into boomer truth, but what is the exoteric messaging of each group? So why did the Tories want mass immigration? Well, the reason was always we want to keep increasing the GDP exponentially.
Or to pay the boomers' pension.
Quite, exactly, yes. Right? And we're not racist, we have a brown prime minister was always the defence. But the advanced position by Labour is we want to establish Britain as a multi-ethnic, multiracial, multicultural, kumbaya nation.
Yes.
And they aren't even pretending that they're trying to pay the boomers' pensions, because they're saying we're going to scrap your winter fuel allowance while not cutting foreign aid.
Oh, you can see the shift, can't you?
The shift is very, very clear. Yeah, they are no longer clients of the state. They vote, which is a problem, and they vote Conservative disproportionately because people become more conscientious and less mentally ill with age, and that's more likely to vote Conservative. And so immediately, but it's so strange though. I just think Tony Blair Satan bless him, would have been far more subtle about this attack on the boomers than just immediately getting the people who are very likely to vote and taking money away from them.
Well, yes. I mean, let me follow this thought through about the client groups a little bit, because of course the client group for the Labour Party used to be the white working class, and they have very visibly jettisoned that over the past few weeks with the sort of riots and the killing of the children and so on. To their client group is now expressly immigrants to this country.
Well, so Ash Sarkar, after the 2019 election, when Jeremy Corbyn actually won more votes than Starmer but lost, redefined working class as ethnic minorities, students, and people that basically have no capital.
Well, it was John Prescott who asserted that we're all working class now. All middle class now. And there was this case in the 2000s of this guy, and that his land had been left to the city council as long as it was used to house the working class. And then they started saying they started wanting to sell these houses to middle class people, and he took them to court and won. And the argument was, we're all middle class now. What does middle class mean? And he countered, no, this is what middle class means. This is what working class means. And you either give me the land back, or you put houses for the working class on it. So
I think you've actually covered this topic, haven't you? You've tried to explain why Labour went from a position of their client group being the working class to being immigrants, because it seems like a weird shift.
I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I think the most reasonable argument that I've found is that there is, if you are Machiavellian in that way, if you are basically a born traitor, then you collaborate with a group that is genetically further from you in order to gain power over the group of which you are part, i.e. the upper class. Yes. So that group, in a mono-ethnic society, that group that you collaborate with is the working class. That's the group that you can virtue signal with. That's the marginalised.
So early Labour was upper class people who basically did it.
It was three key groups of people. It was basically upper class traitors to their own class, like Tony Benn and people like that. It was Quakers, who were basically sort of lower middle class, and it was the trade unionist working class. So the trade unionist working class, particularly, they were just working class people that were acting in their own interest, genetically, their class. So someone like Jim Callaghan, his father was a sailor, he's reasonably intelligent, he goes to grammar school, whatever, he ends up working as a civil servant. That's someone like that. Then you have someone like Harold Wilson. I don't know for sure if his background was Quaker, but it was more lower middle class, parents were teachers, similar thing. He's operating in the interests of basically his own sort of class. Yes. And then you get the very different kind of person like Clement Attlee or Hugh Gateskill, and these people are upper class, or Michael Foot, and they identify with a class that is, or a group that is a step away from them, and thus you virtue signal with that, and you get into power. Now, once you have a multi-ethnic society, and the same things happened in America, exactly the same thing once this occurred, then of course there's a new group that's even more marginal than the working class in a sense, because they're new to the society, and that group, and you then move on and you virtue signal with them, and that group is the immigrant. And then of course then you start to feel, in general you would expect upper class people to hate the working class, to be genetically distant from them, to see them as almost disgusting, as almost bad genetics almost, and so their revulsion of them could no longer be suppressed as they use the ethnic minorities to virtue signal with. So you see that shift.
So is there something inherent in left-wing people that they kind of have to be betrayers to their own group?
Well, let's distinguish between two. Yeah, but let's distinguish between two kinds of left-wing people. There's the left-wing people that are left-wing because it is in their actual interests to be left-wing because they're poor.
Oh, they're on welfare.
Right, well, that kind of people, or Muslims in the UK or whatever. Yes. And then there's the general, and there was a study on this, I think it was Waytz et al., Waytz, and he finds that the moral circle of conservatives is a series of concentric, we looked at this in the video on woke eugenics, is a series of concentric circles around self, with you like your family more than you like your kin, you like your kin more than you like your class more than you like your ethnic group more than race more than species, and so on. And with left-wing people, the moral circle is different. It's a few steps removed. So you identify with a different class over your own, a different ethnic group over your own, a different race over your own. And this allows you to gain status in a different way. It allows you to collaborate with outsiders in order to gain power over your own group. And leftists tend to be individually oriented. They tend to be focused on, they tend to be mentally unstable, they tend to be neurotic, the world is swirling chaos, they're Machiavellian, they want to take control of it. And they're often, if they're low down in the group or see themselves as low down in the group, they're not group oriented. They hate the group, they hate the symbols of power, they hate all this because they feel they should have power and they are resentful and they feel disempowered. And so in that sense, you play for status. How do you play for status? If you're tough and you're powerful, in a fair fight. That's how you play for status. But you can't do that if you're a bit
masculine right-wing way.
Right. So you virtue signal, you purity signal, and what you virtue signal about quality and harm avoidance, you collaborate with an outsider group, a different class, different race, whatever, and get power that way.
So when I saw an extract from a paper that looked at this, and I think it was doing brain scans of some type.
It's the same paper. Wait, sit up.
Oh, right, okay. And it literally showed the heat map of a brain as to which bit lights up. And you can see when they're asking about self and family and stuff like that, people very close to you, the right-wingers, that part of the brain was hot. It was glowing red. And then when you're asking about, like the Bantu or something, that part of the brain was cold. They literally empathised with their own
genetic closeness.
But left-wingers, it was startling. It was the direct opposite. The heat map for their own family and the people around them was basically blue, cold, and then the people that as far removed as possible, like the aliens in Starship Troopers, or basically whatever was the furthest removed from themselves, that bit of the brain was glowing red hot.
Right, exactly, because you're in a situation where there is room for different strategies in order to survive in an ecology. And the main strategy, of course, is the ethnocentric strategy, that you look after basically yourself first, and then your children first,
yes.
and then other people, and then a series of concentric circles. That's basically the norm that we've been selected for over a very long time. Obviously, as selection breaks down, as it has done, from 50% child mortality 1800 to less than 1% today, you're going to get a movement away from that to all kinds of other weird strategies. And this is the selfish strategy. This is the person who is mentally unstable. How do I want to gain power, because in prehistory you have to have power to get women and so forth. How can I gain power? I can't do it in a fair fight.
Because only right-wing people can do that.
In a fair fight, because right-wing people are bigger, physically tougher, mentally more stable, and whatever. If you're the opposite of that, you're a short, ugly, mentally unstable man,
a spiteful mutant,
a mutant anyway.
Yes.
You see the world as this swirling chaos. You want to control it. You want to gain power. How do you do so? Well, one method you can use is to covertly play for status. How do you do that? You either purity signal about how morally pure or religious you are, or you collaborate with outsiders. You're like a quisling. You collaborate with outsiders to gain power over your own group.
So the way I'm understanding this is Labour started off as sort of upper class chaps who cooperated with an outside group, the working class, to gain power over other upper class people. But now Labour Party is basically working class people like Angela Rayner and Jess Phillips and so on. And because, of course, they can't cooperate with their own group, they can't cooperate with the working class anymore, they have to then reach out to the immigrants.
I think a slightly better way of understanding it, because if you distinguish Angela Rayner, Yvette Cooper, all that from the aristocrats who lent a cap to the working class in the past, is how we say masculine and feminine coded. The same place for the Republicans and the Democrats. And it's that if you have compassion for those concentric circles, that sort of Russian nesting doll of your evolved in-group, you are masculine coded because you're rationing your compassion according to resources. Whereas the present situation of material abundance and technological advancements that keep people alive well beyond when they would have otherwise expired from illness or the like, it's very feminine coded, so they treat every single out-group like they are infants, even if it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah, they do. They treat them like children, yes. I mean, I will move on from this point about sort of client groups, but,
That's an interesting point, though, you make there, Callum, because I did a video a while ago on
cheers.
It. Well, occasionally it can happen. But the way that they... these women seem to talk about these. There's a case in Italy of this, that they talk about these male, refugees that are going around doing all kinds of unspeakable things, is as though they are children.
It's extremely maternal, the language they use.
And I think I wonder if part of that is that is precisely because they are different, precisely because they are genetically so different, it messes up with the brain's wiring somehow, and therefore they see them in these childlike terms. There was a study which found that we are less able to assess a person's physical fitness from their face if they are a different race from us. And that's because we're not used to coetsietale, it was. We're not used to the subtle signals. And so you can see that there might be something in that with regard to foreigners.
That is good, but I must must quickly bring this back on track because just to finish off the point on client group. So obviously for the Tories, the Boomers were the client group. I mean, they were the only people who were sort of voting Tory at the end. Labour used to have the white working class, whereas now they've just got welfare recipients and immigrants. And obviously those Venn diagrams sort of overlap quite a bit. Reform are moving to the position of having the white working class as their client group, although Zoomers might come into that in quite a big way. And Lib Dem client group. Middle class
sandal wearing salad,
spreadsheets and chinos,
people who block roads, kind of stuff like that. Yes. So anyway, look, we don't want high taxes, infinity Africans, and woke nonsense. But the Tories did want those things, and the Boomers wanted the Tories, so they had to come under fire. That's why we've had to be mean to the Boomers in the past, and it got to absurd levels. I mean, you mentioned this, where the Tories were advocating conscription for young people to basically wipe old people's bums and die in Ukraine. It just got absurd in the end. But now we've got Labour, and they want everything the Tories wanted, plus crushing our will, and they have to go now. They need to gone.
But they want it on behalf of foreigners, not Boomers.
Yes. Well, they've shrunk their client base to insufferable metropolitans and colonists, effectively. So now they have to go. So, what we need to do is we need to expand our circle of friends from, it's got to be the white working class that have been abandoned. And then if we can get the insufferable millennials who are currently going through their twatty phase of, look at me, I'm in London, I'm earning lots of money, and I have fashionable opinions. If we can get them in a pincer movement between Boomers and Zoomers, with the white working class coming up the middle, like the cavalry, then we can take 2029 probably in favour of reform if they can actually sort their act out. I don't know if they can, but
they see my recent interview with Ben Habib on why they've got to build a lot of infrastructure and actually recruit some half decent candidates next time around as well.
We know what we want. We don't want infinity Africans. We don't want the woke stuff. We don't want high taxes, and we don't want the state stamping on our face all the time. So if we can build some sort of coalition, and the Boomers are in it, they are our friends now. So this was expressed nicely by Morgoth, yes. So for those of you who are listening, on the left we have a sort of insufferable laughing Boomer because he's busy voting for infinity Africans.
Has a holiday home in Cornwall that he turns into an Airbnb.
Yes, blowing the inheritance as fast as he can on cruises, telling you to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That was the old image of the Boomer. The new one, isn't she sweet?
It's very Soviet even.
Lovely little old lady who had her fuel turned off in the winter
in order to fund more migrant hotels.
Yes. These people are our friends now. So as Morgoth said, how we frame the Boomers under the Tories and how we frame the Boomers under Starmer. So this is good because whenever I've mentioned Boomers in the past. And obviously, we're not talking about all Boomers. We're talking about client groups. The majority of Boomers wanted the Tories, and therefore,
with regard to zero seats, though, it's very interesting that Peter Hitchens, on the one hand, it's perfectly acceptable just to dismiss him as a perpetually grumpy contrarian,
and told you to go goon,
just whatever. But they were.
No, he actually did. You check out his tweets.
He said, "Do goon."
Okay, him and other people that commented on this, like David Starkey, did turn out to be correct. That what has happened so quickly is that the Labour government are so much worse than the Conservatives. Okay, yes, the Conservatives didn't make any change in terms of immigration or whatever, but they are so obviously authoritarian, nasty, hateful, wicked people, and so manifest. And all it took was one mini crisis to cause this soulless robot to start stamping on our faces forever.
Yes.
And that's all it took. So they were right about that. In campaigning for zero seats, we have helped to bring about something much, much worse.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but what they didn't understand is, yes, they were right about that, and that was kind of the point of zero seats.
Well, accelerationist.
Well, it's not just accelerationist, it's just being honest, because the Conservative Party were doing this under Riker. I mean, remember, the Conservative government in 2011 put the Home Office gaslighting body on steroids and developed Don't Look Back in Anger as a targeted strategy to obfuscate from their immigration policy.
The Tories had to be destroyed so that a proper right-wing party can emerge. But no, I'm very happy about this change because in the past I would mention Boomers the client group and then boomers in our audience would think that I was talking about all of them, including them personally, and they would do that thing where they activate their caps locks and then sort of angrily sort of rant out, a whole block paragraph, no grammar, which I don't think is acceptable because you went to school at a time when you actually taught grammar, so don't do the bloody caps lock block paragraph.
When they did English language at school, it was actually it wasn't writing stories and stuff like we did English language at school. It was actually linguistics.
Yes.
So there really is
there's no excuse for turning the caps locks on and just angrily ranting at me because I was talking about the client group, not the individuals. But anyway, it doesn't matter now because you're all friends. So if you're boomer, like, I'm giving you a virtual hug because you're one of us now. You are now a friend client group as we go after Labour. So you're all excellent. Thank you very much. And everyone else, remember to be kind to the old people because they're lovely and look at them and they're freezing in the cold because they haven't got any heating.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow Calvin's series. Here in this episode he had Nick Tanconi, the interim leader of UKIP, and Speaker Bob from Speaker's Corner. And if you want to see everything else that we're putting out, you can also follow us on our Twitter account where we always post links to it. Thank you very much, and goodbye.